Okay, good evening. The time is 7:13. It's Thursday, June 10th. Chair?
Thank you. Welcome to our Zoom meeting for tonight. And at this time, now, April, do you want me to introduce you and then you introduce Guy, or you just want me to go straight to Guy?
No, you're welcome to introduce. I believe Guy and Jeff are both with us this evening.
Yeah, we've established that we have a quorum.
You know what? Let me take attendance just so it's on the record.
Okay.
Since Karen was unable to make tonight's meeting. Patricia Caldwell.
Here.
Kim Fascal.
Here.
Fescu. Milagros Guzman.
Here.
Jane Jacob. Alejandra.
Here.
Silva. Jarrett Oates. Rabbi Hirsch Horowitz.
Here.
All right. And on that, our two speakers this evening are Guy Alba and Jeff Horowitz from DHCR's Office of Research. And I don't know which of the two of you will be taking the lead. Is it you, Guy?
Yes, I guess I will be taking the lead. If I can say thank you very much to all the members of the board, including everybody on the research and analysis staff. Thank you so much. Worked very, very hard to make this happen. As you know, this is difficult times for everyone. And we're able to reach out to owners, communicate with them, and have them submit surveys for your data analysis and review for the 2021 cycle. Jeff is going to take over. I'm going to display from my computer. Hopefully I will be able to display. Am I a host? Let me just see.
Yes, Guy, you're
I believe
a
that you
co-host.
are.
You should be able to share your screen.
Give me a second. I'm sorry. For some reason, there is no choice for sharing my screen. Usually there is, but give me a second. Yeah, I'm unable to share my screen. If there's some, maybe you didn't give me credentials, or because it's not. Give me a second, hold on. Something's coming up right now. There we go. Jeff's going to take over. He's going to, explain some of the data and answer the questions. I'm here as well to explain the data. As you can see, we received 16 schedules for this year. We also have the 15th schedule. Everybody, I hope, has this data. Should have received this data Tuesday. It's an email that came from Jeff.
Two emails, actually.
Jeff's email, and I'll let Jeff Horowitz take over and go through the data.
Right. Can everybody hear me, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And okay, great. First, hopefully everybody received, this is the tabulated data. In addition, there was an email prior to this which had the reports that are sent to you, the CPI data, as well as the New York City Rent Guidelines Board price index of operating costs, and the mortgage survey report. We do that consistently with the 3 guidelines boards, those 4 reports, the 2 RGB city reports, as well as the BLS US Bureau of Labor Statistics consumer price index data as of April of the calendar year, and also the regional CPI for New York and New Jersey. So hopefully everyone did receive both emails. The most recent are the tabulated data reports. If anyone didn't receive the first email, just let me know because I can forward it. But I'm assuming everyone in at least in the quorum has received it. So the first tabs, of course, As of quite a few years ago, we've been supplying 2 sets of tabs because Regency Village is such a large complex that it dwarfs almost all the other buildings in Rockland. That's why the board at the time felt it was a good idea to have 2 complete sets of tabs, one including and one excluding. Now, compared to last year, we did receive 1 additional building schedule. So the total for this year is up to 16, which is kind of an average year. Maybe a very high year, we may get 18. I believe it's 37 schedules that are mailed to owners. And that 37 figure includes garden complexes as well as single buildings. So it can sound a little misleading or a little bit on the low side, but we've been very careful to make sure that we're good in terms of mailing, we're current, and we've captured as many addresses as possible in the county. So we have actually almost a 50% compliance rate. Maybe it's a 40 to 45%, but it does tell you in the upper part of the heading of the tab, how many units are included in these tabs. And out of that, let's look at the 16 schedules. Out of the 1,743 total housing units of these 16 buildings, 1,691, 1,691 are subject to the ETPA. So you have a good percentage of units in these 16 that are under the protections. So in that regard, it's, I think, a fairly good sample. We always strive to try and increase the sample size, but you know, it's not a state requirement like the registration requirement is. This is not as strict a requirement. We try and assist you guys, and we try and say the boards are requesting or requiring this data to try and get some sort of teeth into it. But, you know, it's not a quote state requirement, which limits our ability to you know, have penalties imposed. Unless the state or the government goes back to that old method, it's hard to have enforcement on this. So, but we're pretty much where we used to be. I think 16 to 18 has been our average for quite a few years. And at least most of the larger properties are included. Now, one thing you probably noticed already if you peruse the tabs is that the percentage changes in the actual amounts, the rental amounts in income in particular. Rental income has been kind of static. And in a way, the drop from 25,812 to 25,237 is, I wouldn't say it's unprecedented, but it's highly unusual. And I guess that's due to the 2 consistent years of zeros for the guidelines for both 1 and 2 year leases. So that's one of the issues that I noticed in terms of something a little bit unique to this group. The rental income actually declined between 18, if you just look at 18 and 20, believe it or not, it was 25,231 total rental income versus 25,055 for calendar year 20.
Just sorry, just jump in. It's always at 3 zeros to what you're seeing. So I guess
yes, right.
Jeff is talking about in millions.
Right. I mean, in terms of our reflection, it says under table 1 in thousands. So sorry about that. And under table when it says in thousands. So you multiply that figure. The bottom line is it's been static. There's no change in income. And it's minuscule, and that's something to think about, I think. The expense categories have also been fairly static, at least in this set. I mean, repairs and maintenance went down. Now, you could speculate on that. Was it due to the fact of the lower guidelines that owners didn't invest as much. I don't know. It's again a curiosity, right? I looked at the repairs category and noticed the drop in calendar year 20. And you could speculate, maybe that has something to do with the guidelines being frozen at 0. I'm not sure, but again, it's highly unusual to have a decrease from 18 to 20. And that looks like a fairly significant decrease in total repairs and maintenance. So that's the first table, which again is based on numerical figures.
Right, just I wanted to add something to
Sure.
Jeff's regarding the expenses. The expenses, it could be from guidelines. Again, it could also be because remember what we were in 2020, we were in the COVID situation.
Right.
And I'm sure getting certain professionals to come was difficult. So you see also that dip in expenses, and maybe it's a little bit more dramatic, but in 2018, maybe expenses may have been a little, greater, but we're basically comparing it to the times that we're living in. Could be the guidelines, but it could also
be
COVID.
Yes, COVID. That is very true. I'm not forgetting that. But you can see the rental income has been static, and hardly any fluctuations. I mean, nothing major, it's static. So there's nothing really to tell there other than that's certainly due to the 0% figures that they've gotten decreases in total income. It could also be due to preferential rents that are given. So I'm not 100% sure, but it's something to think about. In the second table, percent distribution of expenses from year to year. Does anyone see anything that strikes them as significant? Or again, it's nothing, there's not much of a progression. It's utilities or nothing significant. Payroll, nothing significant. Insurance is actually very close. Maybe again, repairs and maintenance percentage wise, but Guy mentioned again that COVID could have been a factor in 2020. I'm sure it was a factor.
But we know it was a factor. As you can see, management has gone down to a 5.7. That gives us just those tiny hints that's what's been happening here.
Did anyone have questions so far? Okay. Table 3, percentage change of income and expenses for a 2-year period covered. So basically during calendar year 18 to 19, there was a slight increase in rental income. And again, this is understandable. 19 to 20, it declined by over 2%. Now that has to be due to the zeros, at least on a certain level. Now, did anyone note this one? I'm not sure about it. It could be due to the real estate tax decline, or real estate taxes paid.
So
That
basically,
may be due
what you're looking at, again, even though we're looking at 3 years, 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Right.
Keep in mind that this particular table tries to give you a little picture of changes from 2018 to 19, and then a separate table showing you a 2019 to 2020 change. Stuff like miscellaneous income, things that have gone down, nothing major, but as miscellaneous income could be so many things like operating of washing machines and laundry equipment, signal rentals, key sales, charges for master television antennas, and those have it. There's other items. So you see some of those incomes down as people did not take advantage of it. As far as real estate, each county, it all depends on certiораries. Some people file for appeals on their real estate, and they receive
Right.
some kind of a refund.
A
We did not see any weighted change from the 2019 to 2020 in comparison to 2018 to 2019. So there were no reports of any substantial income refunds from any of the owners, and that's why it's at 0.
Now, did anybody have a question on the expenses rate of change in terms of, I mean, there was a decline again in expenses, at least for insurance, from an increase of 12 to a decline of 11, but I don't know if that's overall significant, because it really went up for a 2-year period, then declines close to that amount for the second 2 years. So I was looking at this, I'm not sure. We speculate about repairs and maintenance, that could again be due to COVID, the lack of repair people during the second year of the 2 years, the second 2-year period, I should say. Okay, and finally on table 4. This is an income versus expenses, again, represented in thousands. So of course it's millions in reality in income. Again, it's static for the 3 years. Trying to see one other thing.
I want to switch to the vacancy tables, so people would be able to see the 1-year, 2-year lease changes.
Did you want to look at anything in the 15 group, or just for argument's sake?
The 15 group is very static also with
It's pretty
16,
static,
so,
yeah.
okay, so it's the same as the 16 with the
Pretty
exception of the
pretty
vacancy
similar.
being taken out.
Did anyone have questions on the second group? Okay. Now the vacancy tables, hopefully everybody has their own set. Page 1 of it talks about lease terms of 1 year previous rent with lease terms by 1 year. And a median previous rent was reported versus a median current rent. And then a mean rent. Now, most people know that we generally, for reliability, go with the median for changes or even for measurement, right? Mean is just a simple average, and we generally don't think it's reliable. Right, Guy? I mean, in terms of...
Yeah, we tend to use the median. There's about $11 difference if you look at from year to year. Again, this is a 1-year lease renewal, and let me help those who may be new or may have forgotten how we read this chart. And if you look at the, let's say, on the left side where it says 1,000 to 1,499, that would be the old prior to new lease, a 1-year lease, rental income, the rental that the
rental amount, right,
was paying. Most of them who renewed in the 1 year for a 1-year lease, 38 of them remained in that category of 1,000 to 1,499. Only one after that lease could have been that individual or that was at 1,450 the previous year, and you know, with the new lease was went up to between 15 to 1999. So most remained within their category, not a big change. And of course, the median rent tells us that there's no major change. $11 change from previous years to this year, as far as when I say $11 change, that you look down where it says median rent previous at $13.56 and median current rent changing at $13.67. So that's what you're looking at, about $11. And we also have a table here for a 2-year lease. And as you can clearly see, very clearly see, most tenants in Rockland do not go for a 2-year lease. They
No.
tend to go for a 1-year lease.
Which I kind of find that's very unique. I mean, we've seen most of there are some 2-year leases in most of the other counties,
Right.
most of the other munis even so. But maybe the bottom line is it looks like there's basically 3 classes, 3 rental ranges that you could focus on. For this group of buildings, there were 39 tenants or apartments, basically with the 1,000 to 1,499, and the 1 unit at 15 to 1999. Then you had 18 at the 15 to 1999. Now the 4 units and the 2 to 2,500. I would assume those are the very large apartments. I mean, we don't have room counts here, but you can just on the basis of common sense, the 4 units that are at that rental range, I would assume are the 3-bedroom units. We would have to look at the individual breakdowns by the schedules to see how many buildings have 3 bedrooms, or certainly 2 bedrooms or more. But there are very few of them. So it's a static rental universe now. I mean, most of the owners are, and some of them are still giving preferential rents within the ranges. So it's a complicated situation now based on the
Page 3 and
tenant
4.
universe.
So page 3 and 4, by the way, just they're not the dollar amounts. They are basically the same, but in percentage, just like page 1 and page 3 would be the ones you would want to look at and see the change in percentages, and clearly gives us a very, very clear picture that almost the very, very large percentage remained within their category, whether it's the 0 to 499, 500 to 999, 1,000 to 1499, etc. So this is just a percentage table, which is very good picture as to what's happening as far as 1-year leases. Again, 2-year leases, you'll see the zeros in the percentages because we have no data for them. We're going to go to the table that's cost to income ratio. Once one of my things here disappears, give me a second, I'm sorry. There we go. This is the cost to income ratio. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, basically this is taken from the city board's methodologies, and we employ it for the suburban counties. I mean, the formula may have originated with the city board, right? In their reporting. I'm not sure if, I think the city first started it and then we incorporated it over the years. People first asked me about it, and I think that's how the chain of events works. The bottom line, at least as far as I understand it, that the higher the figure or percentage figure, the better the owner is doing in terms of it, how much of his income he or she is spending on expenses. In other words, the closer you get to maybe 50%, the more of the income is being spent on expenses.
So there's 2 columns. There's actually we look
Yes,
at
2 separate
different columns, and there's including interest and depreciation and excluding interest and
excluding.
depreciation. And this is something that the board, Rockland board, the Westchester board, always have asked us to separate them. So you would be able to see it with interest and depreciation and without. Again, it's a very, in my view, it's a very good table because it's a historical table for any board member. Gives you a good, but it's also an inverse table. So when you are looking at a percentage, let's look at the second column, the one on the right side, the one that's excluding interest and depreciation. If you look at the excluding interest and depreciation for 2019, you had 58.9%. In 2020, we have 55.5%.
Five. Mhm.
Since this is an inverse table, the picture tells us that the owners were doing better, since now we have a decline from 58.9 to 55.5%.
So they are in effect spending less now of their income
That is correct.
on quote unquote expenses.
That is correct.
So in other words, in the earlier years where you had higher figures, I mean, in the excluding column, it's closer in general. The variation of the figures is less. It seems with the including interest and depreciation, there's a little bit more variance, right? Because you have a very high figure in 2004, let's say, of 93.2%. And then in the excluding one, you have 66.1. But if you look at them individually over the years, it looks like the column, the table excluding, is more or less much more consistent. I mean, there's lower fluctuations, right? From year to year.
Well, just board members should know that, including interest and depreciation, again, it's a report that's coming from different owners. It's very, very hard for us to say what they are using as their interest and depreciation. And that gives me a better picture without the income, interest and depreciation. So that's the second column, gives me a better picture of
Right.
the income that an owner is enjoying or not enjoying.
Right, and it's also much closer. It's much closer, the grouping. There's less variance in the figures, so from year to year. If you look in the 90s, it's basically in the mid to high 50s. Maybe it gets to 60% in 97. There's very little fluctuation overall. A high of 66.1 in 04. But you have a lot of, you have some fluctuation in the including. So I guess it may not be as reliable for our purposes.
It is, again, this is the historical table. If you're talking about the 2000s, you can see the mortgage increase, the mortgage crisis of 2008. You can see that it went up to about 71%. So again, inverse. And, now, being this situation, it's at 55.5%. Are there any questions regarding this table or any other tables that, Jeff and I can reply to? In case somebody wants to ask, maybe you forgot to take yourself off mute, just in case, just as a reminder. If there are no other questions, we're going to send this back, and I'll stop sharing my screen, and we'll send it back to Patricia.
Chair,
Pat,
you're muted.
Pat, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Hello? Okay. Am I unmuted now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You are.
Okay. I'm going to say this again. Thank you for the presentation. And although we didn't ask any questions tonight, I am sure in the next couple of days, you'll get some calls. Now that they can give them a little time, to give us all a little time to process the information that you've just provided us with.
Just wanted to ask something regarding phone calls. It's preferable if it is put into an email form, and make sure you CC everyone, including all members of this Rockland board, of the Rockland Rent Guidelines Board, and as well as the secretary to the board and the council to the board. That way we can communicate with you in one shot, and everyone can see the question and everyone can see the answer. So the only thing we ask is if you call us up, we prefer that, it goes through an email system so everyone can share in this kind of information in the Q&A.
That can work. Thank you. That's the only item we had on the agenda for tonight. Does any of the members have any comments to make at this time? Unmute yourself and say whatever. Hearing
No.
none? Okay. April, do you have any closing remarks to make?
My only remark is that next Thursday, this board will vote on its guideline increase subsequent to a hearing if there's anybody that feels this signs up to testify.
Okay.
So we will take testimony first and then the board will vote on an increase or decrease or a guideline.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. Any other issues or concerns? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Members,
Motion to adjourn.
there's second,
Second.
been properly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night. We'll talk to you next Thursday, the 17th.
Thank
night.
you.